This is True North Story, the original podcast series. Learn, love, listen, live. With your hosts, Tama Fulton and John Hudson Messerol. Are you ready to discover your True North Story?
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
That's much better. You suddenly went from an alto to a baritone.
You know, us professional broadcasters, we can do that, you know.
I know. Wow. That was impressive. It's like flipping a switch.
Exactly. Takes so little to impress my partner.
Isn't that sad?
It is.
Hey, no worries, John. We're just chatting away about
working out.
Working out.
Come join one of my hikes. I'm down to 165, which is 20 pounds below where I was when I started all this.
Wow.
Craziness. Yeah,
Holy cow.
Carry weight with you when you hike?
I do, but mostly my camera equipment because I use it for photography. And, I love the beauty. That's my hobby and passion is a lot of the photography. In fact, today I'm releasing my book, which I'm really excited about.
I am so excited for you.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Who published it for you, John?
I self-published it. I got approached by a bunch of publishers and decided that since I'm not trying to earn any money, I'm trying to send all the money over to the SIDS Research Guild. The cheapest thing is to do it on your own, market it on your own. And so, I got to start that process this weekend.
Well, we're going to help you for sure with our podcast. We want people to know about that. Yes, absolutely.
Well, where they can get the book, absolutely.
I got to see it when you were holding it the other day, and it was just phenomenally gorgeous, just eye-popping.
Tell our audience a little bit. Let our audience know what it looks like and feels like, and share your passion with the book with our audience.
So it's a photography journey on the Arctic, which is some of the best pictures I've ever taken of Norway's Svalbard, which is about 4 hours north of Norway, the Arctic shelf, and Greenland and Iceland. All the net proceeds of it are going to the SIDS Research Guild in Seattle. I've always been a photographer. It's been a personal passion of mine, but it's just a way to actually raise money and deliver something that's actually really quite beautiful. It's a great coffee table book. Not a lot of words. It's mostly gorgeous photography, real high-end photography kind of thing, and awareness and, frankly, much-needed funds for this research that's going on between Seattle Children's Hospital and the UK Lullaby Foundation. It's research, so I decided to do it, and it's just another way to get the word out, get people behind it, and understand it, and that it actually doesn't just impact folks like me, but it actually impacts everybody. So that's why I did it.
And John, I did a little bit of research on you. Just a little. If you Google John Kahan, let me just tell you, you pop up everywhere. And not only that, but you have a little profile on the National Geographic website. So, you are quite the photographer. I think you're being modest in what you say. And I would love for people to have an opportunity to see some of your work. When did this hobby, this passion for photography start for you?
When I was a little boy, actually. My dad gave me a camera when on the first trip I ever really took, which was actually to Israel and Egypt, and prior to that to California when I lived in New York. And my dad was into photography. He did it part-time and, had the whole color darkroom and that whole thing. My first job in high school, when I got my first real job, I was in a camera store. And I learned it top to bottom. I was also a color separator in high school, so they used to put all the pictures together, the colors. And it was fun. It was really fun. And over the years, I've just grown more and more for a passion for it and really enjoyed it. And the beauty of photography is it's turned into technology. And, 70% of the process is actually post-shot. It's in the processing and the work you do with computers behind the scenes. And that's what I do for a living and what I'm interested in. And it's so evolving and so changing that I've always loved it. In fact, ironically, the one company I always wanted to work for was Eastman Kodak. And I remember trying to apply to it when I was in college. And the first year then I went and they'd say, "Oh, sorry, we're going through really tough times." The second year, it's like, "No, we're really not hiring again." And my last year of college, I got a handwritten note from them saying, "No, we're not hiring at all."
Oh, wow!
So I never got a chance to mix my personal passion for photography with technology and now use it for a cause. And so I decided to release this first book, and how this goes, I have 3 others actually planned, or 2 others planned, and one maybe. One on Antarctica, one on Africa. And I'm excited about it. It's really I've traveled to every continent in the world. And so to bring the beauty of the world for a specific cause like this is just great. It's just wonderful. It's like you're getting win-win kind of situation.
What kind of camera equipment did you take with you for this book?
I take 3 actual cameras with me. I take 2 Nikon D810s, which are 36 megapixel cameras, and some very large lenses, 800 millimeter to 1200 millimeter lenses, which are pretty long. And then I also take a drone with me for certain areas where you just can't reach by foot. I like the perspective of seeing things from on top, not just straight ahead. You get like you'll see in this book, there's a picture of a waterfall, and to see a waterfall from on top is like something you've never seen in your life. I mean, it's quite amazing. And a glacier that you could never even walk out on, from within the glacier looking out upward in the crevices of the glacier it's incredible. These are things you'll never be able to even see in your life. And so drone photography is really cool, and I love still a big DSLR guy with heavy camera equipment, which is kind of nutty, but that's what I do.
I was going to ask if you still shoot film at all, or if it's all digital now.
My dad still, believe it or not, my dad's 89, or he'll be 89 this year. He still has a very large darkroom in his house, and he still shoots a little bit of film, and we still laugh about it, and we still, he still, hacks away with it, but I don't anymore. It took me a long time to let go of film. I really regret not letting go sooner, because I have pictures of my family and all the things I've ever done that go back 20 years, which is great, but I missed the first 3 years of my first daughter. And I'm kind of bumming about that I didn't do it in digital, but you scan it all in and you work it post.
Right. There's something about film, and this is what I wanted to ask you too, because obviously doing this professionally now with understanding technology and all the benefits that it offers in the post-production side after the image is initially captured. I mean, in the darkroom, you're playing with chemicals and pushing different things and exposures and whatnot, but I would think that digital offers a lot more options for playing
tremendous
with the image,
options.
Right?
Yeah, tremendous options. I mean, what you can do today digitally is a gazillion times more than you could ever do with film. There's a purity of things, as you can imagine. Like I'm a big baseball fan. Like I love baseball. Don't change it. Leave it the way it is. And so I get the purity of things, but you know what? Technology has taken photography to a level that, with a little bit of work, you can create amazing images that you would never be able to create with film. Never. And even if you had all the time in the world and all the money in the world, you'd never be able to create it. And so I think it's changed it quite a bit. I mean, like in this book, there are several pictures that are 25 pictures long, 5 pictures deep, all glued together into one image. And so that you could get a panoramic view that was HDR capable at the right light. You'd never be able to. I mean, I couldn't even imagine in a million years trying to do that with film. There's no way. I mean, there's no way. And, it still takes a lot of work and effort to take 25 pictures and do it 25 times 5. And then, post-process each of the 25 times 5 and then process it again to glue it together into something that makes sense. And then work on the colors and make sure that you got it right. Still takes an enormous amount of work, but it can be done. Think about that. Just imagine what that would be in a film world, how many rolls and rolls of film you would take, and then in a color separation lab trying to put it all together again. Forget it. You'd never be able to do it.
We'll go back and we'll watch classic films, or we'll watch television series that were shot on film versus digital. And there's definitely a difference in the warmth, I think, more than anything, but I think that's more color correction of the digital versus the lighting on film. When you go out and you're capturing natural light in these vistic landscapes, majestic places, how much does the lighting affect, or does it not? And then you clean that up, change it, or do what you want to in post.
Absolutely, the scene, the lighting affects it. There's no question about it. It's not any different for film than digital. The difference is that in the digital world, when I say take 5 pictures, so let's say you're taking a picture of a landscape, and in the film world, you go, okay, I'll hold my meter out, and I'll try to get this right. And you'll say, okay, well, it's +1 in an aperture range at this speed, and I'll get it right. And then you take the picture. In a digital world, you go, you know what? I don't really know what this is going to be because I'm not sure my meters are right. And so I'll put it on fast speed, and I'll take 5 pictures, one at 0 aperture, one at +1, one at +2, one at -1, one at -2. And then I'll let the post-processing connect all that together to build the best picture possible in the post-processing. 5 pictures, and it'll look at different parts of the image, and it'll say, you know what? The top right really should be in +1, and the bottom left should be in -1, based on the way the light's working. And you work off of histograms to make it look great. So that's what's really cool about it.
That's amazing.
Which you could do in a dark room. You'd sit there in a dark room, and you'd be like holding your hand and shaking it over one part to bring in more, to darken one part out, and you'd be hovering over another part, and you'd then print the picture, and you'd get it wrong, and you'd do it again and again and again and again and again. And it's amazing what you can do with photography today. But it takes a lot of time. Like I take 1,000 pictures a day on average. And so to go through that and to create an image out of like 5 images, even in the best computer equipment that we have today, still takes 30, 40 seconds, sometimes up to 5 minutes. And to connect like 25 pictures and do what I'm describing, take 20 minutes, 30 minutes to do it. And so you have to like be able to have an eye towards, okay, this is all garbage. I'm not going to get anything out of this. Don't bother processing it. And these are the ones that really matter. I'm really going to push on these because they're the ones that I really want. So it takes a lot of work and effort, but it's an amazing thing when it comes together. I mean, you just be like, holy cow. You see it online, you won't really get an appreciation for it. And you see it in person. Somebody just took it from my office because she wanted to like show 7 people. She's like, I just can't get over the colors or the clarity and it's because it'll blow you away. I mean, you're like, oh my God,
It's gorgeous. It sure is. I mean, it just,
I can't wait to see.
In your hand, John, it just popped.
Yeah, it really is. Wow. It's really one of those things, and it's hard to like explain to people. I don't know how to. Here's my offer to anybody that listens to this and buys this thing. First of all the money, all the net proceeds, less costs, are going to this kids' children's research. You cannot have a better investment in your life. I mean, you're talking about trying to save the next child. You're talking about the minds and the hearts and souls of every mother and father that's about to have a child, that's had a child within their first year. I mean, you're talking about tens of thousands of babies that have died since my son died that they do not have an answer for. So let's start with that. For $95, you can give money to something that really matters in life and that really I'm super encouraged by the research. I mean, you're talking about really a chance, first time in our lives that we can actually understand this and actually change it. So let's start with that. The second thing is, if you don't like it, give it back. I'll pay you. I'll write the check myself. I don't care. I'd be shocked if you didn't like it. I mean, I'd be just like shocked. You really just step back and take a look at it, and I think you'd just be blown away.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. Ironically, it's purely ironic more than anything. The doctor that is responsible for all the research is much a photography buff as I am.
I love that.
And he shoots the same camera equipment I do. It's really quite amazing. And he's actually a very talented photographer. And so it's really kind of ironic. So we get a chance to share our experiences together, and it's really fun. I mean, I'm really, really enjoying it. So anyway, and I have a couple more planned. One on Africa, which and this hike in Mount Kilimanjaro, and what we've done, to raise money and awareness for SIDS research, and the animals and the beauty of Africa, which is really quite stunning. One on Antarctica, which most people will never get to in their lives, and I was very, very blessed to get to, and I hope to go back again. Because it's even more stunning in my ways than this. In fact, I want to go back because I'm actually a better photographer now than I was a year and a half ago. And so I'm like, wow. I wish I had this picture this way. Or I wish I had this that way. And so,
right.
So I'm going to have to go back.
This is True North Story, the original podcast series. And now, back to the program.
So, John, you have just as much passion in your life for beautiful pictures as you do for helping families and little ones survive and the awareness of SIDS. Can you tell us just briefly about your experience with your beautiful son, Aaron, for the short time he was with us, for this being his 13th year and the year that he would be having his bar mitzvah, transitioning into manhood, and what a legacy he has left already with you and Heather and all the things that you're doing to raise awareness.
First of all, thank you for the kind words. This is probably one of the more difficult years that we've lived post his passing away, because in the Jewish religion, turning 13 is an enormous deal, and knowing that we'd be planning his bar mitzvah at this time, and we're not, and we're out trying to raise money to figure out why he died is not exactly what I thought all those years ago.
Sure.
So let me kind of rewind. We had 3 girls, and I moved to Seattle to go work for Microsoft, which for me was a massive change in life. My wife and I both were full-time IBMers. She worked 17 years at IBM. I worked 18 years. And for some insane reason, I decided, okay, let's move the family across the country. Let's leave IBM. Which was what we knew, and let's go work for another company. And so we did that. My wife was 6 months pregnant at the time when we moved here, and with our 4th child. But we kind of said, you know what? We're tired of trading kids in airports. I was so excited to have a son. I have 3 girls, and I love my girls, but it's nice to have a boy. So it was an enormous excitement for the family. And Aaron was born on October 11th. And, by all outside and inside appearances, the doctor said he was healthy and he was crying, and mom and dad and grandparents were there and our kids were there. And then about 6 hours later, he went to sleep and never woke up again. And they never figured out why. We did the autopsies and did a lot of exploring with doctors to try to figure out why. And even to this day, they do not know the real reason why. And that's probably the scariest thing you can ever have as a parent, especially when you have other children or you're going to have another child, is to not know whether or not it's going to impact them.
Right.
And so the first year we were digging in very deeply to understand and try every possible route, because we were worried. I mean, we were worried that it would happen to our kids. We were worried it would happen to our friends' kids. I didn't know what it was about. And over the years, I knew in the back of my mind we had to do something about this. And about a year ago, I decided to really step up my efforts with my wife and getting better understanding of what was going on. Of course, we were giving money to Children's Hospital to thank them, because they were incredibly helpful. It's one of the most amazing institutions in the world with helping us get back on our feet. But they couldn't answer the questions either. And, you'd give money and you'd give time, and the kids every year would give toys to the hospital. But we wanted to do more. We knew we wanted to do more, and we did a bunch of research on where in the world they were doing research. And ironically, it all led back to Children's Hospital, and there was a doctor there that we met with, Dr. Rubens, and he is incredible. He's not actually a researcher by trade, and so for the first time, we had a different look at this than the standard non-scientific answers of, maybe the baby should be not on its stomach, it should be on its back. These are non-scientific answers that nobody can prove actually stop SIDS.
Wow.
And so he had a different approach. He thought about, because he was an anesthesiologist by trade, the way a human that's under anesthesia goes to sleep and the way they wake up. And one of his theories, and he studied this in 39 babies and published a paper on it, was that children that have SIDS have an inner ear deficiency and they can't move their head. And so, if you take any human being or any animal and you put them in water face down, all their holes will close up, but they'll start to thrash around with their heads. And by testing for this, his belief is that these babies can't do that, and so they don't notify anybody that they're in trouble, and then they smother and die. And so that's his belief. It's a theory, and it's backed up by some statistically sound evidence. In fact, a whole bunch of my data scientists on their own went and studied all of his work and studied the external work, found some additional things, which they're going to present to him shortly. And they validated his findings. The challenge with his findings is it's a very small sample size. You need a much bigger sample size. And so he went further and created a set of research with the UK. And the beauty of the UK is it's socialized medicine. When you collect data, you collect it exactly the same way. It doesn't work that way in the US and in most other countries that don't have socialized medicine. So he made a deal with them to collect data on every baby that's born over the next 2 years, started in May, so that we can determine, is this it or is there other things? And so even if we don't figure out that this is it, I'm sure we will figure out there are many different things and that probably SIDS is multiple things. But hopefully we'll find a prevention. And I'm really encouraged by it because it's a logical approach to figuring this out. And so, I started a year ago saying, okay, I got to help him. I got to raise money. And so I said, all right, I'm going to hike, and I'm going to start, my original goal was to hike 100 miles and culminate it with Mount Kilimanjaro and try to raise awareness and really much needed funds for this research that's going on. And then I've since changed that to 1,000 miles because I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and there's much more to be done.
Yes.
And we've raised about $66,000. And we've got a lot more to do because this research costs millions of dollars and lots of people are contributing their time and effort. And so every single week, rain, shine, et cetera, myself and a bunch of data scientists and folks here at Microsoft and my friends, we go out and we hike and we show people and we end the hike with a sign that says stop SIDS and remember Aaron, which is what this is all about for me. We're showing the world that, don't forget our children. Don't forget and, contribute your time, your money, your support for something that really impacts everybody. And it really does. I mean, there's an interesting article that was published internally here. Eventually it'll be published externally on some of the work our data scientists are doing with Children's Hospital. And what's exciting about it is, they did it on their own and they're giving their time and effort to really understand why. And it comes down to like one of my data scientists said, look, I saw your son's picture and he was in tears about, that it could happen to his child. And that's why he decided to engage. And so that's what this is all about. It's not it's the published number, and I'll get into that in a minute, of 2,500 children that die in the U.S. and probably tens of thousands that die worldwide every year. It's for the millions of babies that are born and the parents' peace of mind that this haunts them. I mean, when people hear of SIDS and they have a child, they're haunted by it. I mean, my 23-year-old had my first grandson, which is an amazing thing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She gets up every night and she looks at the baby and she's like, is he okay? And it's just not fair. It's not right, for a mother or a father to have to worry like that. And we're trying. My wife is trying. I'm trying. We're trying to get the world to recognize this as an important cause.
How fortunate the world is, John, for you, John Kahan, because you have the analytics and the data scientists at your fingertips. You have got the mind for this and the passion for it to help researchers. Not only that, you have put your words and your thoughts into actions with your feet, and you're taking people with you, and you're taking steps, literally taking steps to help stop this SIDS from happening and for research to be done. And then you're taking pictures with your passion that you've had since you were a child, and you're putting it into books so that people can see the pictures and they can help support, even if they can't, like me, come up with, 2 numbers to string together in some sort of analytic fashion, or hike Mount Kilimanjaro for that matter. So, we're so fortunate to have you to raise awareness for us.
Oh, thank you. So thanks for the kind words. It's greatly appreciated, and the world needs to have people give back. I mean, let's face it. We are despite the tragedy that my family went through. I mean, I'm in the top echelon of the world. I mean, I couldn't be more lucky, than the situation that I'm in, and so giving back is just you have to give back. I mean, it's crazy not to. I mean, think of the amount of wealth we have in this area of the world, and how much we get to do, and how much we don't have to wake up tomorrow and think about what are we going to eat. And so giving back is an absolute, I think it's an inalienable right that people have to do in this echelon. And so this is my passion. I hope everybody has similar passions, and I'm super blessed. I work for one of the most generous companies in the world. I mean, every dollar that I contribute, they match up to some level. You know, even the time I volunteer for this, I climbed a mountain. They were giving money for every hour that I was doing towards the charity because that was important to me. And so I'm very blessed. I have 4 most amazing girls.
Yes, because you were blessed with another one
right.
after Aaron, correct?
Yeah. So after Aaron was born, we had Sadie, who's just the most adorable girl at 10 years old. And then my Leah at 17, who is amazingly beautiful inside and out. And my Sarah, who's the same. And my Emily, who just blessed us with just an incredible grandson, Kaiser Dylan. And they inspire me every day. I look at them and I'm like, look at them. They're amazing. And they have a wonderful outlook on life. So we have to set examples for our kids and our grandkids that they were born into this amazing place. So,
yes.
Giving back has got to be what we do, to thank the world and thank God for everything that's gone on. And, this is definitely a tragedy. It's not something that I take lightly. Even to this day, when I hear Aaron's name, I get choked up about it. And this year it was very hard. We go to the cemetery every year and, wish him a happy birthday, and we leave pumpkins and, and I see my 10-year-old, kneel down and, wonder what it would be like if she knew her older brother. So it's very difficult. But, if I can spend my time ensuring it doesn't happen for another parent and another child, then it's time well spent.
What is the organization through children's?
It's called the SIDS Research Guild. Go to give2, that's one word, .seattlechildren's, that's another word, .org/SIDS Research, SIDSRESEARCH. And I know your book, as fans of photography ourselves, I can only imagine how amazing the visual images are. Sure. I do have one question, just on a side note, because you mentioned that you're a baseball fan. As a data scientist, and we're talking about analytics and all the rest, what are your thoughts about this whole analytical angle, the Moneyball thing that's kind of crept into baseball? Because you could argue that a lot of that success is by those architects. No question about it. There's no question about it. That's how a team that has a $30 million payroll, wins the World Series. It's because of great data and not because they were lucky. Right.
Right.
And great insights. And sure, there's a bit of gut feel that goes along with baseball. When do you pull a pitcher out? When do you pull another? But baseball is a wonderful sport because it's just loaded with data.
I love it. Are you a Sox fan?
The truth is, I am a New York Yankee fan by heart because I grew up in New York. I love the Yankees. I am a season ticket holder of the Seattle Mariners. Wish someday they will actually get to the playoffs.
I know.
13 years they have not made the playoffs, and it would be exciting if they actually made the playoffs. I do dress in my Yankee gear the 3 days a year that they come here. Look, there's so many years that the Yankees won, and on paper you go, how the hell did these guys win? And that's what I grew up with. I mean, 1996 Yankees talk about knowing statistics really well. I mean, these guys on paper, they sucked. I mean, at like every position, and they won, and they kept winning. Like every game, they would go in and they'd be behind by 6 runs, and then a few minutes. Then they'd win 7-6. Never in the history of baseball has things like that happened. So, funny story. When we were in New York, we would travel. If there was no traffic, it would take an hour and 15 minutes to go to a game. But usually it was about 2 to 3 hours, more like 3 hours. And so, about the 7th inning, there were rules. If it was a playoff game and it was in the 8th inning and you were behind by 2 runs, you're out of there because the statistical odds of coming back. From a play, from 2 runs in the 8th inning is very slim. It's incredibly slim. And then if it was a non-playoff game, you would do that in the 7th inning because, that's the way it worked. And in all the years I've watched games, I've never, ever missed, somebody come back and with a win because you kind of had a feel for the way the park was. Even if they did come back, you know enough about the momentum to know, okay, this isn't the time to leave. And I came to Seattle, my daughter I watched the Mariners once, and they were behind like 6 runs going into the 8th inning or something. I'm like, all right, we're out of here. I want to get home. And she's like, Dad, I don't like to leave. And I'm like, look, if they come back, I'll never leave a game again. Sure enough, they came back.
Oh, that's awesome.
John
Exactly.
Kahan, thank you so much for being part of our True North Story podcast. We can't wait for our audience to see your book and have it in their hands and put it on their coffee tables and to be supporting an amazing cause. Yes.
Well, thank you. Thanks for taking the time with me. I really enjoyed the conversation. I've never done a podcast before, so you win that as my first in life. Stay tight with us. There's going to be more stories because we're going to solve this thing. I'm not going to.
You're not giving up. I know.
No.
You're not.
No.
Absolutely.
We're not giving up. We're not going to give up. We need to figure this out, and we will figure this out.
Thank you again, John.
Thank you for listening to True North Story, the series. And tune in next time for another True North Story.